Wow, right off the bat, KingZone on blue side banning out Vladimir. They don't want to see that in this game.
Tal had a really good Vladimir performance recently. They're going to try and ban away Flex Pick with that, and they actually ban away the Sivir, which does raise the priority of something like Ezreal quite a lot. You'll notice on red side the Jace ban already, and it seems like SKT don't need to see another Galio to know that the noted Galio pickers of the past, BDD, and we saw yesterday Pawn, will be able to return to that pick anytime they want. So Galio banned away from a team that loved to run Kha'Zix and Galio. AD carry pool, which was left open in a lot of series yesterday, is being targeted. It's looking like a first pick Ezreal if we don't see a ban.
Wow, they're going to go ahead and ban out the Azir here.
Now, Sejuani is also open, and Peanut, if he's playing a tank jungler, does prioritize it. So SKT smartly say, what do you want? Ryze also being available means this could just be Sejuani Ezreal as a trade. So banning away Azir could open up a lot of options, and they go straight past the Ezreal. Seems like SKT, after their late game woes, are saying, how about some late game scaling, Valdez?
I like the idea. Maybe they're trying to conform to the current meta that we have on 8.1 a little bit. You already see that Severe is banned out already, so might as well take the Kog'Maw, try to scale it up. KingZone thinking about the Ezreal, definitely still a very tempting pick, and we all know that Prey can also play it as well.
Yeah, one of his most famous picks, the Varus, also something to consider, but not necessarily something that has been as clean for KingZone recently, so why not go for the Ultra Comfort? We're still on patch 8.1, so no Klepto Nurse, no other reasons to not pick up the Ezreal. And speaking of Ultra Comfort, the champions that both these players made their names on, it was Twitch and Ezreal for Prey. Well, in his Najin days, it was all about Gorilla on the Janna. So Ezreal Janna not often seen as a completed duo. They're going to consider it heavily. They leave it open. Effort had a really good game on the Janna in that long loss against Jinna, interrupting so many Ornn ultimates. And speaking of blasts from the past, we have seen Faker dunk noobs with the Master Yi, but probably not today.
God, why do they have to do this, you know? One time you just gotta lock it in, right? Okay, never mind. Malzahar probably gonna be the pick. There it is, locked in. And yeah, we're gonna have Ryze versus Malzahar, a matchup that you guys have seen maybe too much here in 8.1.
Yeah, Malzahar Nurse, future things, so for now, not something to talk about. I imagine that SKT will try to last pick for Tal, try to give him a good matchup. You know that KingZone will try to get as much laning power as possible on the blue side. I don't know if you're first picking on the red side a Gangplank in this game, because you respect Khan to run away with lanes whenever he's given an invitation. We do see the Gnar ban. Gnar versus GP was certainly the meta top lane matchup during yesterday's games. Whenever you see Sejuani, Kog'Maw, you can kind of piece together there will be some tanky frontliners for the Kog'Maw to do damage in front of. So Tom Kench, a smart ban from KingZone.
Yeah, we're gonna see Jarvan and Gnar banned out here as well. I was talking to you earlier about how we see Gnar in basically every game because it's right on the cusp of not being banned. If it ever does get banned, it's always in phase 2 when the top laners have not been picked. So we do see it picked out or banned out there. KingZone thinking a lot more about their secondary bans here, really putting in the time and thought about what they want to do. Down to the wire, and they banned Nasus. That was a mistake. They just couldn't think of anything, or they wanted to keep one of those picks open for themselves.
We've actually seen some Nasus in solo queue going for coin Nasus in certain matchups against the lower presence champions. It's actually been seen as a quasi counter to the Gangplank, just farming up in lane as the Gangplank farms as well. So I'm actually thinking this is an intentional ban there from the side of KingZone, even though it looks like a bit of a troll to most people.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You do see that GP is picked up for Tal, so they're saving the counter here for the support role. Looks like they're not going to pick that up just yet.
The surprise there is they're giving KingZone 2 lanes you know they're going to be comfortable with. KingZone will be pivoting and having Ryze in a side lane. They will also have lane presence with the Camille into the Gangplank, so all-in options in 2 lanes. The thing about Korea is we love the Ryze and Camille side lane champions for the ability to, in the mid-game, really take over the side lanes and use the Realm Warp to its maximum. We still, of course, have the stopwatch escapes on the rise. And we're going full mid-game for KingZone. Peanut back on the Comfort Kha'Zix.
It's a nice little drawing of Tal. I suppose that's maybe Gnar that she has drawn. I don't really know what that is. But going into the support pick, it is going to be the Alistar. You were talking about a tanky front line, another engage here for SKT, and another very popular pick that we see all the time is this Alistar.
So lineup from SKT is a sort of lineup where Peanut, just like Cuz we saw previously, can flourish. Turret dives between the Camille and Kha'Zix make the gangplank very vulnerable, especially before the stopwatch arms at 6 minutes into the game. Rise also for the rotational play. Kingzone have a lot of early options. There is some outscale to SKT. If the side lane ever has gangplank with pressure over Camille, then headaches do actually begin for Kingzone. They have very strong late game team fighting, but Kingzone are no slouches either. We'll see how the Kha'Zix does. The Feast or Famine Kha'Zix usually sets the tone for how a team will do.
Yeah. You'd have to imagine that Blank will spend a lot of time up towards the top side of the map. You know, it's going to be hard to be ganking the Ezreal Braum composition down there, and Bang & Effort can kind of hold their own. Whereas, you know, they have to take care of this gangplank and even stay near the Malzahar, near level 6, so they might have an opportunity near the Rise. If they can just 100 to 0 him before he can get his stopwatch combo to escape, definitely another opportunity if they want to be more aggressive with that Sejuani.
Kingzone have great level 1 options as well with the Braum and the Camille. Both of them deadly for long-range engage at level 1, so we might actually see them abuse that. They were very aggressive in the Kesper Cup against SKT-T1, never let up, consistently invading in that series, and I expected to see them do that here as well, whereas on the side of SKT, scaling, Kog'Maw and Gangplank don't really need any more explanation there. See how Faker is doing today. He certainly has had those high-profile single moments as a counterpoint to a lot of greatness in his recent performances.
Well, I think he's going to be showing up tonight, or at least he has to, up against Kingzone. It looks like the game is already, the countdown has started. SKT versus Kingzone right now. So guys, it looks like we have a bit of a pause. And when I say right now, I mean probably in about 2 minutes.
They were playing the epic music. We couldn't talk over that, Valdez. It wouldn't have been right.
Yeah, it slowly just got quieter and quieter, and we're like, oh, okay, I guess we can talk now. So apparently it was just a lighting issue. They're going to turn down some of the lights because it was too bright shining into the booth. So
I mean, these stars on the screen are distracting me as well, Valdez. So I understand what's going on there. I saw Prey, I saw Faker, I got flustered, but we get some game finally.
Here we go, guys. As I said before, and as you guys can probably tell by the thunderous applause, the studio is entirely packed out. Pretty much every single chair has a person in it. And that's what you'd expect for Kingzone versus SKT. It's
a rivalry that even though some of the names have changed, you know, with 3 out of 5 of the 2016 Rocks Tigers against their mortal enemies in SK Telecom T1. Worth noting, of course, names have changed there as well. The years roll on, people come, people go. We still have Prey Gorilla versus Bang and Faker, which is still already a very big highlight matchup. As speaking of Faker, want to exert as much lane presence as possible. Expecting Camille to have strength in the top side. Seeing Gorilla go for a late steal here.
That was pretty close.
Against the Sejuani in particular, very difficult because she has the ability to claim, you know, has a pseudo smite with the passive around 400 HP, so very difficult to pull off that steal. Can't even force out the smite necessarily, but the smite was used onto the walls to increase the clear speed. Not sure if it's fleet footwork or the aftershock just yet, but we'll get the runes up soon.
Yeah. Just probably hoping that the E would be used, and then the Braum Q would come in and steal it from underneath her, but not very likely, as you were talking about. Blank just heading straight over to the red buff right now. You can see Prey trying to just stack up what should be Klepto on this patch.
And look at this. The numbers actually do favor Longzhu Gaming's history. Is 2017, so we should use the name, the 2017 Longzhu Gaming. Now, of course, ZONE DragonX. A lot of the numbers at the start of the year were all about SKT, but once it hit summer, the finals result especially was the sweetest one, as Prey and Gorilla were able to lift the trophy 2 years in a row. In the summer season was Rox Tigers summer 2016, and then Longzhu Gaming in summer of 2017. Right now, just watching the map. For now, it's a bit of vertical jungling. Blank is around the top side, providing coverage for the Gangplank. Makes a lot of sense, given the ability to snowball down. Already had multiple Gangplanks, but chiefly Untara feel the wrath of enemy top lane and jungle duos, so giving coverage to Tal is smart. And maybe we should talk about the fact that Tal is starting, because that is something different from SKT. Tal, to me, represents kind of, in a Huni-esque fashion, a carry top laner. He is an aggressive laner. He is known to pick lane-dominant champions. If you remember, Untara already had a lot of issues against Khan's aggression and his micro ability in lane, and they brought in Huni and he was more comfortable. Tal, of course, much less experience, but a very mechanically gifted player. Famously was Son of Kasing in European solo queue, going right up there based on his mechanics. Finding a top laner with mechanics is the reason that SKT brought Huni over Untara to Worlds after Untara started most of LCK Summer, and now they're also rolling in Tal this time. Again, a tough order. Just before we went into game, we saw him. He looked nervous, and he should do, Valdez.
Yeah, you know, he's a bit of a younger guy. He has some experience, but not so much. And we were talking before the games about how we should reintroduce this idea of what his name actually means. He's a very famous Trundle player, actually, on the solo queue ladder. And his name literally means, I am going to play Trundle. So it's T, right? T-Hal. It's like Trundle. And Harkoya, which means like I'm going to do it or I'm going to play it. So he's going to play. He's saying I'm going to play Trundle. Unfortunately, probably not going to happen in competitive play, but definitely would happen on the ladder.
I think when the keystones equalize, when there's more bruiser keystones in the top side and the range top laners go away, hopefully we'll see his famous Trundle. If you named yourself after picking Trundle, you're probably pretty good on it. But yeah, you do the Hungle much more justice than I do, Valdez. So thank you for explaining that to our fans. But now, things have been passive, which, again, you look at the scaling, you see the Gangplank, you see the Kleptomancy, you say happy days for SKT. I want to talk a little bit about the rune choice now that we have them. SKT cannot be sealed, triple unsealed with Faker and Effort. We've seen more Aftershock, Alistair, recently, but the AD carries taking the unsealed spellbook is getting more and more common. You see it on Kog'Maw. It's just about trying to get to lane faster with teleport and just having low summoner spell cooldowns in the late game. Press the attack, never taken by Korean AD carries. Fleet footwork is strong, but people haven't been picking it this week. There's a bit of change there as BDD is trading very aggressively.
Yeah, he's been doing this all lane long, and you can already see the impact it's having on the CS lead. Faker has been having a lot of trouble in this matchup. He's got Blank nearby, but look at this aggressive Rune Prison saying, I'm going to go in. Peanut's here too. He got a 2v2 under the turret. Blank low on mana as well, and they can't even fight here.
That was really cute. He brought the minion wave with him so that he wouldn't instantly take aggro, only after he used an ability or an auto attack onto Faker would he take aggro. One of the underappreciated parts about that Realm Warp is the fact that it brings the minions along. And everyone's teleporting.
Yeah, that's the thing. You were talking about Kog'Maw with Unsealed Spellbook. I almost feel like we've gone too far, right? Like
Has science gone too far, Valdez?
It's like too crazy, right? the movement speed is not good enough. All of those quote-unquote like ADC runes are just not even used on AD carries anymore. It's just like the lower cooldown on Flash is actually more worth it, and obviously the better laning phase with the teleport. It's just like, it's ridiculous, Papa.
I mean, think about where we went from. We had an all-star on previous patches in this cycle. It was all these poking AD carries against Serrated Dirk. Misfortune Jhin was the OP lane. Varus and Misfortune as well, going double Comet. Since then, while Comet stayed the same, min-maxing the Relic Shield into Overheal into just insane amount of sustain has really pushed away the more poking AD carries. And now it's kind of the reality. I talked about it at the start and people said, you know, why so much inspiration? It was one of the big questions that, you know, Twitter said they wanted answered about the current meta, and it's just, if you look at the pure defensive stats and the pure offensive stats you get from other trees, they're often dwarfed by the utility of a stopwatch, free boots, and also the spellbooks. So there's so much advantage there from going for things that aren't innately, you know, plus AD or plus AP, plus armor or plus magic resist. It's just not worth it right now for actually investing into the other trees.
Yeah. I do like the idea that, you know, it's not like the AD carries always have to go precision and the mid laners always have to go sorcery. I like the fact that people are experimenting and finding cool combinations of runes that perhaps you wouldn't think would be the case when you first see them, but I don't know. The idea of all this unsealed spellbook on ADC doesn't really sit well with me, but we'll see in the future.
What I'll say about unsealed spellbook is when it's an option, when it's something that people take to surprise, it's really cool. But when it becomes the meta very fast, then suddenly it gets a bit comical, right? Yeah. When everyone's teleporting everywhere. Same about Frostfang on junglers and top laners. When it's an option that can be abused or can actually be encouraged, it's good. But when it's the meta, then again it gets a bit comical. So for now, at least, the spellbook will stay unsealed. We will see it as the core 10 of the meta in 8.1 and 8.2. Unsure if things will change. I love the utility of it. Really does feel that the summon spell cooldown reduction is kind of extra power that's not necessary.
This was this level 6 I was talking about. They're going to try to bring both of their ultimates in, but can they do it in time? There's the Zone as the stopwatch, but he actually could not rune prison in time, so it's first blood going to blank, putting their two ultimates together and getting a kill.
And a mistake from BDD. He uses the stopwatch when his health is too low. He would have died to the Malefic Visions, even if he got the Realm Warp and stopwatch out. So I think, honestly, just a waste of an important rune that he had taken there. He dies as well. After being harassed for so long, Faker finally gets a feel-good moment. Good gank timing from SKT. They still have the scaling draft. Against the run of play, they now have first blood.
Nicely done. Exactly what I was talking about with the Sejuani, wanting to come mid around level 6 or just stay around top and help out Tal. And so far, taking a look at the top lane, it definitely looks like when Khan takes the trades, he's winning them, but Tal is definitely holding his own up there with very similar CS right now.
And now, we don't really need to talk about the mechanics of this all-in. It's very simple. CC overlapping, using the stopwatch there a mistake, but what I want to talk about is the minimap. We haven't seen Peanut in positions that we saw Cousin. You could say, well, his lanes haven't been winning as hard, and you'd be right. But top lane is always scared of the Camille hook shot, and mid lane was winning. So why wasn't Peanut invading with the pressure, getting vision in the red side jungle, and actually making threats onto both top and the mid lane? Why weren't they able to battle ward blank on this Sejuani? None of that has happened. All Peanut has been able to do is equalize in farm against the Sejuani, and now he's turned on.
Yeah, I mean, we got this ultimate once again from the Malzahar. Unfortunately, Blank CD wasn't up on his ultimate, but we might have a bit of a collapse as Gorilla and Prey are coming in. BD locking down Faker right now, but BDD will get slowed up. Effort will have Flash ultimate, and he will just get out of there alive. But lots of summoners burned, a couple of flashes on the side of SKT.
But you will see that whenever Kingzone are proactive, when they have equal or greater numbers, they will win in both of those scenarios. They should have the tempo on the map to make those proactive plays. They're not, and SKT with a scaling draft are doing way better than you'd expect in the early game. They're behind 300 gold. You look at Gangplank in a tough lane, down 7 CS. They're winning in spots they should be well behind.
Yeah, it was a really good point you made about the Kha'Zix not really showing his face top lane even once. I mean, look at how low Tal is right now, right? It forces him back. He does have his TP, but you can try to set up something where you put down some control wards, make that opportunity available to yourself. But Peanut's just been farming the jungle this entire game, and now they have vision on the Dragon. What will Kingzone do to try to get them off of it?
They're definitely going to walk through some wards and not make it easy, but for now, SKT's sticking on the Dragon.
They do have this burst damage, and now Faker is in. That's going to be the easy smite cleanup from the Sejuani and an Infernal Drake going over to SKT.
And this kind of exacerbates the point I was making earlier. You know, I'm always struck by, you know, when I started playing the game, I started thinking about it on a more critical level, you know, when Amumu was still in the meta, right?
Oh,
and everyone wanted to know, how do you
okay.
counter Amumu was always the question. And then you saw Lee Sin, you saw the proactive counter jungling. And so people saw at the competitive level, well, he can't really defend himself, invade him, abuse his early weakness. And then, okay, and so a lot of people learn to lock in Lee Sin, but if you don't have the mindset to use it to the maximum, if a Mumu just farms and you never actually counter-jungled and then shows up at a fight and does better than you, that's your mistake. You didn't take on the role of the aggressor. You didn't punish a scaling pick. And it's just as true for compositions. SKT have taken scaling against a Kingzone team that obliterated in the early game just a few days ago, and the scaling isn't being punished so far. We're not seeing Peanut coordinate with his lanes in the sort of way he needs to, and the sort of way that Cuz was able to. And while it may not decide the game, it's the sort of thing that on VOD review will be very clear to Kingzone that they need to tighten up.
Yeah, I would have to agree. We see finally Peanut is coming in and laying down some wards there in the red side jungle. He is going to start up this Rift Herald. So you can see there is a control ward underneath the Rift Herald, and so he will not be spotted just for now. You were talking about back in the day when a Mumu was a problem, man. You've been in this game for quite a while, Papa. That's like, was that even 2011 or was that 2012 back then?
It was way back when. It was a solo queue thing for a long time, of course. When it comes to birthdays, it will be in, I believe, a couple of weeks, my 7-year anniversary with League of Legends. I downloaded it in February 2010. It's been out for a while, Valdez.
Okay, we are going to have a challenge here on the Rift Herald, that Gangplank ultimate, and it's going to get smited down here by the Sejuani. Not smited, actually. She hit the eye right at the end, but you can see that Kingzone just had to back off as there was too much pressure from SKT, even Effort making his way up in, as well as the Kog'Maw, Bang, coming all the way to the Rift Herald, and so that's going to go over to SKT.
And the minimap tells bad stories for Kingzone. During this time, during the setup for this start on the Rift Herald, BDD was backing. He wasn't in unison. He wasn't prioritizing Rift Herald take over his own back. He's gone super defensive in his build, going for a QSS. Of course, not going to be necessarily a timer on the Rod of Ages like previous Rise builds, but he's not playing with his jungler. We're never saying BDD and Peanut or Khan and Peanut. We're just looking at Peanut. We're looking at BDD's individual turret dive in the mid lane. The synergy is not there, and the synergy needs to get there fast.
Yeah, I mean, Peanut did join for that super, huge turret dive early on in the game, but it didn't feel the same. I definitely feel what you're saying, and overall, he hasn't really been coordinating on the same level as Cuz, so we'll see if they can shore that up a little bit in the future. Next Drake is going to be Infernal Drake, so SKT will be looking to stack that here in the future.
Not going to even force the stopwatch out of Tal, who has had a very comfortable laning phase in the top side. Khan doing his best to pressure, but solo, and never with the threat of a turret dive by the Kha'Zix. He can only do so much, and as you get more and more levels and your Trinity Force, ranged farming becomes very possible for the Gangplank.
Yeah, to be honest, Tal looks really comfortable in this lane. You can see how he's doing it. Obviously, it's a counter lane, so you're not going to have perfect trades, but overall, he's not too far behind. He knows exactly how to play this matchup as well, the GP versus Camille. Definitely one that you scrim a ton because it's just so popular.
Got to say that the jungle proximity may be higher than Blank, as you would expect with the Kha'Zix, but sadly the results haven't been there for Peanut. Looking a bit at the heat map here, it was more defensive than you'd imagine, especially on top side. All the blue movements of the jungler were around his blue buff and his bigger camps like his Gromp. They weren't actually towards the Gangplank at all. So that's happy times for the GP, just farming away.
Now, we're taking a look down here in bottom lane, and, well, it's exactly what you would expect. Nobody's dying, nobody's getting aggressive. The Ezreal is about 15 farm ahead, about 10 at this point, so just that small extra lead you get with the poke from the Ezreal.
Peanut does successfully take a camp away, so that's a good moment, but you'll notice he does have a level disadvantage to Blank, who went fleet footwork, which we didn't mention earlier, so usually go that when you're expecting to brawl and when you want to have extra mobility around the Rift early, so respectful rune choice for Blank. Umti was the first in Korea to use that one pretty extensively. I'm a big fan of it, given all the flexible options and the increased clear time. Big fan of a rune for early game and then your item build tailoring your late game.
Right now, SKT has 4 teleports. I guess that's what you get when you have 3 unsealed spellbooks.
I'll hold the point I have, though, as they turn on to Sejuani.
Yeah, Blank was getting in a little bit, and actually a TP coming in. Who's it going to be? It's going to be Effort this time around on the Alistar TPing in.
No problems having 4 teleports in a game, right, Valdez?
No problems.
It's probably not going to be Kog'Maw, that's all we know, but as as casters, we're like, wait, who had TP? And it could be anyone in this current meta.
Pretty much. Soon junglers will start taking unsealed spellbook. Nothing will make sense anymore.
It's a funny old meta, Valdez.
Funny old meta.
We didn't get to talk about
hopefully it will be old in the future.
I'm feeling old right now, trust me. But with all the teleports, something I wanted to talk about was the ult used top lane by Tal. Didn't have a chance at the time. May still not here as we get the zoomed out view. Infernal Drake number 2 has started. Should not be 2 of these given up by Kingzone, but there might be.
He's going to jump in and he gets it a little bit too early on that smite. It got down to 145. I saw it by Blank. It was just too early. But look at this. Gorilla is going to get caught out. So they will trade the Infernal Drake for 1 kill. And honestly, in this meta, I'd have to say I would take the Infernal Drake over the kill.
But Valdez, I'm not willing to reward Kingzone for that because they have to go for a flash 50-50 just to get the Drake that should have been theirs with the draft. They took early momentum with the picks. They're the ones that have the earlier options, but instead they have to 50-50 because they've given up too much on the map earlier. Tal just running over to try and harass Khan further. He's starting to finally fall into a CS disadvantage. The reason for that is that Khan was holding the wave just in front of the turret, so Tal actually had to ult it just to hope to push it, otherwise he would have been denied further CS. So having to use the ult just for lane meant he didn't have it for the Drake.
Here we go again. They're going to layer their ultimates down here. Actually delaying a little bit because the QSS is available to BDD at this point, but again, little moves like this, we've talked about it in this meta. It's not necessarily to kill, especially after the QSS. It's just to try to push BDD out of the lane, especially because his TP is down.
Been the bot side jungle that's been owned by SKT since the early part of the game when they started to prioritize vision around it. But now at least just threatening a red buff, still threatening a dive, but no more. Big control ward line over the river for the side of SKT.
Yeah, they want this first blood turret gold, and that bottom turret is getting very, very low. So if they wanted to try any kind of dive with Blank and even a GP ultimate, that would be the lane to go for it. The mid lane turret is also getting very low on the side of Kingzone, so they could potentially go for that. They do not have the Rift Herald. It was used in the mid lane, I believe.
It's a very confident build coming from Tal. You see double longsword. You think about what most people have been building in hard lanes for the Gangplank. It's been Sterix, Gage second, just to deal with being all-in and having that extra overshield of health to try to turn things around. Only builds out of a single longsword and a pickaxe, so 2 suggests a dirt, suggests something like a Yomu's Ghostblade to try to run away from Khan, which is an option for sure, but it is a more offensive choice as well.
I love Pugmaw. I remember I was casting with Crumbs last year, and he hated the Pugmaw. What is your opinion on the Pugmaw? I think it's cute as hell.
The Riot caster mantra, from what I've learned from the international events, is they're not big fans of the Pugmaw.
Really?
Pugmaw definitely has gotten not the universal praise you might imagine. I think it's cute, but it's really annoying to face, so I'm kind of indifferent on it.
I love the fact that it barks every time, like every single time you auto-attack. Just like a small little bark.
That's the part where it gets annoying for me.
That's the best part.
Well, you know, you can like what you like, Valdez.
Maybe that actually helps with mechanics. I don't know. I'm not an ADC player, but it's like every time you attack, it like makes a noise. So
it still does with the
that
regular
might
skin.
help. Yeah, it's true.
Not a bark necessarily, but a more human noise, I guess, with the bark.
I think it only barks when you have your W up, though. So either way, Blank coming on in. I've forgotten that this is patch 8.1, so. And it is Sejuani, so she is not going to die.
Definitely not. At this point in the game, will still be the Sterix, so a bit of a manipulating of items there from Tal. Has the Doran shield as well for a bit of extra safety. Trying to turn onto Faker, but you're 3 levels under Faker as Peanuts, so not going to be too much fun there.
It's kind of funny the way that Frost Queen's claim works against the stealth Kha'Zix. Can definitely help you from getting surprised anytime. If you think he's nearby mid lane, Effort's taking a little bit of damage. Should be okay.
Just trying to poke him down to hopefully get some turret damage in. Effort could just back and teleport if he wanted to.
because of course he would have teleport.
We're down to 3 right now as Faker is going for the more standard teamfight summoners with the Ghost. Doesn't want to have to flash every time he looks for an ult, or wants bigger acquisition range. SKT has controlled this part of the map almost the entire game. The big advantage of that has been 2 Drakes, which is the most obvious thing, but also the fact this turret hasn't gone down, Valdez. At 22 minutes, Kog'Maw has been able to rush a Rage Blade and not lose turrets. So the vertical jungling hasn't really felt vertical because Peanut hasn't been threatening the gangplank at all. And being on the bot side has gotten SKT most of their leads. It is 1-to-1 in Infernals, but should have been 2, given how the setup was earlier. Quite a miracle steal from Peanut.
SKT was looking for a gank opportunity down here in the bottom lane. You would have to think that this Kingzone bottom lane is really trying to push here, but even ulting through the Tri-Brush to stop the back of Blank perfectly, even without the vision. But looks like they even read the play out of SKT.
I mean, both teams knew what was happening there. The only wild card was, would Peanut try to come in for a turret dive? That's what Blank was more there for, was covering any sort of aggressive move, or an overgreed by Kingzone to try to finish the turret, rather than actually looking to enact a gank down the lane. Chances of that succeeding on Braum and Ezreal with summoners up was 0, so yeah, it was just there because he didn't need to be anywhere else on the map. Farming continues, but in the mid lane, top lane especially, the gold lead that wasn't there early is starting to grow a little bit. The mid lane one at 50 CS over the Malzahar is Ryze, who started off super defensive, remember. It was Merc Treads, Tier, Catalyst, and a QSS, but at least there's some threat now.
There's still threat, but it's still a couple of very defensive items, right? I mean, you get Zhonya's afterwards. I mean, it makes sense for the Realm Warp, but you get that after that defensive Abyssal Mask and the QSS and the Merc Treads, right? This Ryze is not going to be dying to pretty much anything. Now Prey finally making this move towards the bottom turret. He is going to pick it up and get that gold. Unfortunately for SKT, the mid turret did go down first, so that wasn't the first blood turret for Kingzone down there.
There's a lot of map control that you get from taking down mid lane turret, especially helps with Baron setups. And the trade at the time that it happens couldn't suit SKT better. The bot lane focus, the control they had, got them an Infernal Drake kind of against the expectations of the comp. The next one's an Ocean, so the priority is lower, and now they have more space to put down Deep Vision for Baron protection. I think it's more about protection than actually engage for the side of SKT. They're confident in their scaling. Kog'Maw and Gangplank told you that story. So for now, just more defense from SKT, setting up for what they want to be, a very long game.
Yeah, we should expect it at this point. I haven't had quite the 60, 70-minute game with you, Papa, yet, and I think you deserve a little bit more on your birthday. How have you been feeling about those games, Papa? Enjoyable?
Some of them have been bangers, for sure.
Yeah.
Telecom War was a lot of fun a few days ago. The one yesterday was such a heartbreaker for Afrika. You could see Kuro afterwards, whether from exhaustion or sadness, he was in tears as well. We've had quite a few tears this week because of the long game, because of the high stakes, because they are games between playoff teams. There's definitely some fun things said during those long games. Kind of the rational caster talk goes out the door around the 65-minute mark, I found.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you've basically had a full game of League of Legends. I mean, you could fit multiple games in that amount of time, but yeah, you kind of just forget about it at this point and just go on with whatever you want to talk about. I'm sure we'll get there one day. This could be the day. I mean, I feel like on this patch, if you're playing, basically perfectly, if you're a top-level team, you are going to get yourself into situations where you can't really avoid the 60, 50, 60, 70-minute game.
Shall we have a caster bet then? Here's an easy one.
Okay.
Right now it is 5:30-ish p.m. Korean Standard Time. Will we be able to get a celebratory birthday drink for me on my birthday, or will it be tomorrow?
Tonight, I think because the second matchup is KT versus BBQ, I would have to say that we will have time. It might be late, might be 11:30, but we'll fit it in.
Okay.
If not, we'll have to have one on the broadcast. I'm sure everybody will be fine with that.
I'll take the other side and say 7 hours plus of League of Legends to dream.
Really?
No celebrations for me today. More sick League of Legends. I mean, this game could literally go to the 60-minute mark very easily.
I mean, we're already beginning to see the beginnings of a game like that, right? 2 kills at almost 30 minutes. Only dragons taken. Basically just vision fighting right now. Nobody's making any mistakes, which is really what I was talking about if you're playing perfectly. Like, if nobody's making mistakes, getting caught, then you don't offer the enemy team a Baron or a big push or to get too far ahead. So these guys, I mean, the gold lead is currently 0. I guess 100 for SKT. So basically on the same playing field right now are these two teams.
Which we do say benefits the scaling team, which represents SKT. Turning on to the Camille. Gets the first part of the hook shot as the animation is midair. Good awareness from Khan. He will live. See Peanut backing away. And tend to take your side as well, Valdez. Has been very. We haven't even seen many stopwatches forced out. We only saw BDD earlier use his.
Yeah, we haven't even had that big fight where like 4 or 5 stopwatches are used. Saw a couple of those yesterday. Okay, maybe this will be the one. This turret is really low. Got a flash in from Gorilla, knock up on a blank, but he's got his flash up and available, and he just gets out of there.
Yeah, the hook shot missed from the Camille, so the engage could never truly be invested in. At the same time, Gorilla flashing in. They will eventually, you'd imagine, take the turret, but they already lose the bot lane turret for free. So advantage SKT again. Even if it's a timing thing, they have more time to back, get their lanes in order, push out. They went out from that. Good job, the side of SKT.
Yeah, you were talking about the scaling. We got our Gangplank going towards that Infinity Edge. He is going to be quite fed on 3 items. He actually just finished it. So perfect timing there as I'm talking about this. Right for that first Baron fight around this time, around 30 minutes, where we will have it. The next Drake is going to be Cloud Drake, so it's not really going to matter in the entire scale of things. The Baron obviously going to be much more highly contested.
We don't often see Infinity Edge this early. It's usually a luxury 5th or 6th item on Gangplank. Usually something like a Phantom Dancer to help you trade. You get the offensive stats, but also the negative damage on auto attack on your enemy. Just happy to go IE in this case, is that considering just turning on Gorilla, he's all alone.
Yeah, the problem here is that Bang can't get in the fight right now. He was zoned out, but they should be able to get Gorilla here. Bang gonna get that last auto attack. They almost feed it over to him. As we were saying, he used his flash earlier to try to dive that turret on the failed dive up top, and so that will be just an easy kill. The question is, where does SKT go from here?
The Baron setup will begin. They will be able to deny. They will probably not be able to take anything with this particular kill. These are words I've said too often this week, but the reality of the meta right now. The only thing that holds this game a little bit in check, Valdez, is that the wave clear is not Varus, Sivir levels are strong on either side. Kog'Maw with Hurricane can do a decent job. Ezreal, his one weakness is wave clear. The Ryze can help out. There isn't insane wave clears, so perhaps the 3 inhibitors down defenses will be impossible when it comes to the 65-minute mark. But we'll talk about this moment, like you say. Very simple equation. No flash on Gorilla. His team also is not in position to give him a stand beside me W. By the time Peanut gets there, he realizes it's too late. It looks like he has the Unbreakable up the wrong way, but the auto attacks were going to be coming from the side of the Kog'Maw, so he thought he'd block more damage if it was that direction, so it wasn't actually a mistake by Gorilla. In the end, no matter, they even get the kill over to Bang like you mentioned. Another small advantage, the side of SKT.
Yeah. You could see that they were willing to use everything, even though it was on the Braum. They know that, you know, no big fight is going to break out right after that, so the Malzahar, Sejuani, ultimates all came out. Probably the Gangplank, I didn't see that one, but I would have to assume that it also did. And they basically just layered everything because they know they can save it for the next fight already. If you guys take a look at the ultimates, they're all off cooldown.
I mean, we're further in the game than you might expect because of the little action. At the end of the day, Faker's level 17, a little bit of experience away from 18. We'll have 4 level 18 members in the next minute or two. Item builds are getting very, very deep. The cooldown reduction is there for all of those long engage ultimates. And Bang is now double buff 3 item Kog'Maw, so we know all about the threat there.
Yeah. Give him that blue buff, make sure he can always have his W up and lay down those ultimates as well. Faker on the Malzahar doesn't necessarily need that extra mana regen or the cooldown reduction.
Peanut has to get to the point where he has to be scared of the Gangplank because a barrel explosion does 1100 health, and he doesn't have much more than that.
Yeah, speaking of which, Gangplank shoots him in the face, hits for 673. Peanut's like, holy hell, I'm getting out of here.
Well, he's got no armor, and the only health in his build comes through from the Black Cleaver, so he's certainly not tanky. Just saw the second upgrade of the Cannon Barrage also picked up by Tal. Could have even been third, to be honest, but I believe it was the second. Super-powered hyper carries. Scaling disadvantage is no longer relevant. You know, scaling is gone. The scaling has already happened in this game. It gets more for SKT, but the awkward phase is over. Kingzone picking up a teamfight win looks very difficult short of a pick, but to get a pick they need vision control, and they haven't had it in an important spot at any point in this game. Bot lane was controlled by SKT, bot side I should say. Baron control now for SKT. Getting a pick is nigh on impossible. Ability for the Camille to push up is always with risk, even though Khan is the best we have in Korea at playing with low coverage. He does his best to dive in and try to make the most, even if he always has his trigger on the defensive hook shot to get out. So SKT in a really comfortable position. For Kingzone to do something, I think they need a sick outplay. I think it has to be a single control ward into a mistake from SKT, or a big realm warp play onto the Baron, and maybe even chancing a 50-50. The calculated Barons are gone for Kingzone right now. It has to be about the rotations from my perspective.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I think especially, we talked a lot about the, you know, what does Kha'Zix really do? Is it a strong pick nowadays? Because sometimes it just looks very weak, and especially in this game, it's going to be very hard for a Kha'Zix to get into the back line onto a Kog'Maw when you have an Alistar right next to him and potential barrels hitting you straight in the face. I mean, what exactly is Peanut going to be doing on the Kha'Zix in this game? We talked about the early pressure he could have put up in the top lane. Didn't do any of that. He's farmed up. He's got more CS than the Sejuani, yes, but like, even if he's got 6 items, will he have an opportunity to jump onto the Kog'Maw if SKT isn't making any mistakes?
You have to play to the enemy comp, but also your item build. His item build is pretty tanky, but, you know, Malzahar ults him. We see a parlay and a couple of orders from Kog'Maw. He's still going to die very, very quickly. No QSS in this build. The more popular build has been the Boots of Mobility, and, you know, from there, things like the Dusk Blade for early presence. When we've seen Songwon have good games on the Kha'Zix for Rox Tigers, a lot of lane ganks in the top lane and abusing the, you know, R passive when you evolve the R. But again, we haven't seen any of that from Peanut. So to your question, probably dying early, Valdez. Very difficult to get much value out of the Kha'Zix at this point in the game. They turn onto him.
You were talking about no QSS, and
he's dead.
If your your jungler doesn't have a QSS, you're going to die to this team who has unlimited poke. Here we got a 1v1 down here. Tal was secured up in there, but the Baron has started. Ezreal ult hits everybody in the pit. He's going to begin poking. You can see effort is getting pretty low. In the front even, they're going to turn this one onto the rise. BDD flashing away, trying to do his rotation. Prey and BDD still having a lot of room here, but Gorilla's going to go down in the front. Now BDD's all alone, 1v3. He's going to be going down here after that. Zhonya's does go down. A double kill going over to Faker. Now Prey trying to go forward. Actually, he's going to kill Pang, but is it going to matter in the end? He knew he was going to die. At least he trades 1 for 1, but in the end of this all, SKT wins the fight and they win the Baron.
Yeah, in this part of the game, the fact that they have less of a front line, they don't have a Sejuani, they have a Kha'Zix who was dead at the time, means they can't fight front to back anywhere near as the Kog'Maw draft late game team fight of SKT. They cannot win equal engagements. They need to pick up a pick. They don't. In the end, very nice turn onto Peanut. That was going to be my realistic response before we explained was he's going to die because there's nothing else you can realistically do. Second time that BDD is kind of botched his Realm Warp play with the Zonias, first with the stopwatch and the Zonias. This is the sort of pick they've wanted. Tal is overextended.
That he is 1v2. There's the barrel crit that you were talking about. He gets both of them quite low, but at the end of the day, it is a 1v2. At least he does get the top turret, but he is going to lose his Baron buff.
Let's see if Khan can pull out some magic. He will need to play against 2 or 3 members and outplay them. We're going to see the replay. Peanut thinks he's safe. He doesn't have any deep vision to be clearing this sort of ward around the Baron. Faker flashes on him. You might say, oh, hard done by it was a flash, but you need advanced vision to clear out vision. He didn't have it. We're going to see the replay. They have to turn on. But remember that when it comes to tanking Baron, Blanket Effort will not die to the Baron anytime soon. When it comes to Kog'Maw, Bang ends up taking a couple of Baron shots to help out. He actually takes the first bit of Baron. Okay, here we go.
We got a fight in here. It looks like Malzahar Faker gets taken out. Not sure what was going down here. Maybe just getting picked off. No doubt we'll get a replay. But a couple of members of SKT go down with Baron buff, and well, they're not using it to the best of their abilities right now, Papa.
Yeah, we can't talk about too much analysis because we missed the start of this. But what is to remember is that Tal just respawned. SKT were only 4-man strong in that particular situation. Some teleports are on cooldown. Clearly it was a flank that SKT disrespected. Amazing how teams are making mistakes at this point, but they've certainly wasted a Baron buff power play by now.
That they have. They're going to lose a turret in the mid lane. Trading 1-for-1 on the turrets, and by now we've got an Elder Drake. It is that time in the game, and already, you know, Faker and Effort are still dead. You're not going to 3v5 this KingZone lineup, but let's see what they can do. You can see they're hanging around. We got a TP coming in right now from Effort, or maybe Faker actually. It's going to get pretty low, trying to go for the steal, but no, it is going to go over to Peanut, and that Gangplank ultimate doing a lot of damage. At least they will take out Prey at the end of this fight. Finally getting some action in this game, Papa.
Finally getting a successful Realm Warp, also a big one there. If only Prey was in the AoE, they would have all gotten away for free. The Baron buff is still on Blank. They've only had it for 2 minutes. It's amusing that it still has a minute left given how much has happened. But we said SKT cannot lose a front-to-back 5v5 fight. First Tile got caught, then clearly multiple members of SKT, including Faker, got caught. That color point didn't matter because of the mistakes from SKT. And somehow the pendulum has swung, and we need a damn replay to work out how.
Yeah, let's get it. Give us the replay. Definitely gonna need to see that. It was interesting because right after Faker respawned, he switched his flash for TP. Unless that was like a visual bug. But that's one thing that you can do with the Unsealed Spellbook. If for just one fight you have to be there, absolutely. You can, you know, trade your flash for the TP.
With the Baron buff, they're still trying to push. This is 5v5. This is where KingZone has to consider their options, even with Elder Dragon, for another minute and a half. They give up. They don't give up the turret just yet. Look at the swings we've had here. It has been pretty small. You'll notice it's only a scale of 2 to 4,000. Not massive amounts. But the massive lead for SKT after they got Baron instantly corrected by all the kills that KingZone were able to pick up. And now we're basically even again.
Now we are. Only 1,000 ahead for SKT. Pretty negligible at this point. And not even an inhibitor turret has gone down in this game. Both teams only taking 4 turrets out of the opposition. Mirrored on both sides. And I feel like we're just going to sink back in, you know, sit back into our chair of let's clear waves, try not to get caught, and wait until the next objective comes up.
I'd like to see them clear vision. SKT has had the vision lead the entire game, and you cannot afford that when they have Malzahar and also the Sejuani who can initiate out of basically nowhere, especially when you have no vision. So see if KingZone can either group as 5 and kind of narrow down the places where they need to clear the vision, or go for some defensive vision plays for now. SKT not incentivized to push up for another 10 seconds as the Elder Dragon is still worn by SKT. And asking you shall receive, Valdez. We're not in the super late game yet, but seems like we're going to get there.
We're getting there. No mistakes have been made, really. That one...
There was one, but we didn't get to see it.
Yeah, there were a couple, I'd say. But nothing that really threw the game in one direction. We're going to take a look at Blank. He did get the first blood in the mid lane. He is sitting at 1-0-7, 100% kill participation. Probably more important to mention that more than anything else.
Amusing thing, of course, is that a lot of the vision you see on the screen from SKT is zombie wards as well. One of the things that will be addressed a little bit in patch 8.2 is the extra vision you get.
But yeah, well, it's still going to be 180 seconds, I believe, at level 18.
Oh, in the early game at level 18, yep.
What?
That's the meta we live in, Valdez. You haven't seen it up close, exactly. But that's where we're at.
That's what I'm saying. Like, is that buff really going to change Zombie Ward being taken by these junglers? Because
I need to be glass half full over here. I cast all the games, Valdez.
I'll let you, okay? When you come to SPO TV, reality sets in. And I'm just like, yeah, Zombie Ward's going to be the same. But I don't know. There's some good changes in there.
All right, we take a deep breath again. We reassess. Vision for KZ. At least there is a bit of coverage for Kingzone on the bot side here for Khan to push up. Not sure how the 1v1 goes. My inkling is that Tal has more effective items, therefore he probably does pretty well in the 1v1. QSS kind of ruining the build here for Khan. Would prefer not to have that. He has it basically, so if Malzahar teleports in, he can try to turn a 1v2. He doesn't really have it for team fights. In some team fights, sure, it'll be decent, but usually Guardian Angel and a different defensive item is probably going to be preferred in a team fight. And it doesn't help him in the 1v1 versus Gangplank, so he's not as strong as he'd want to be, as Tal's like, screw it. I'm also going to be a Fountain Laser. No boots on the Gangplank.
I mean, it's ridiculous that this is now the norm, right? 6 item carries with no boots, always getting the Phantom Dancer. Kog'Maw's not there yet. See if he does go that far.
Bang loves role-playing tanks. He loves the Ninja Tabi, and he's got the Frozen Mallet as well.
Role-playing tanks.
The Urgot's not in the meta anymore,
Deft, you know? You're talking about role-playing tanks, trying to be out in the front lines, getting caught.
Positioning-wise, but items-wise, that was always Bang. He was one of our first Ninja Tabi 80 carries in Korea.
So SKT's just playing the game of, we're going to deny 2 brushes, and hopefully you walk in. And KZ's like, nope, we're not going to do that. So no Baron for now. Elder's still on the way. Not spawned just yet.
I gotta say, the mentality in the late game has never been more important in League of Legends. Right now, your ability to keep it together in positions like this where a big enough mistake, your whole team loses.
Yeah.
You know, we've had players who clearly have visibly got frustrated in losses, and it's affected their play in later games. You know, Africa as a team seemed to be a team like that last year. You can't afford to be anymore.
Yeah, and I feel like that's part of the reason why a lot more emotions are being shown even after games, like super long games where you get literally 1 auto attack from 2-0ing KSV as Africa.
And then you lose.
And it goes like 74 minutes as well in that game. Like the toll it takes, all that tension you were talking about is just, it's hard to imagine, right? I feel like you'd have to have experienced it yourself, you know, be on the big stage and play 3 over 40-minute games, and then, you know, tell me that you wouldn't be crying in the booth.
I mean, you look
I feel like I'd be.
I mean, that 71-minute game for Africa, they were winning for 67 minutes, 65 minutes, you know, and then to lose out of nowhere and very visibly not be all there in the last game was very painful to watch, as Malzahar has denied the ultimate.
Yeah, he went for it. They went for the Baron. They saw Peanut, as it seemed like Kingzone knew it was started, and the flash just does not work. So Faker is going to be flashless. It's okay, though. We're not going to have a fight until his flash is up again.
This part is 100% true, Valdez. The forcing becomes so difficult.
I've been doing my research. I've been watching you guys cast. It's
1 time speed, 2 times speed?
Mostly 1.5, so that I can hear what you're saying. 2 times speed is like, well, you're only getting the gist of what's going on. But mostly live, actually.
Well, I appreciate your viewership and everyone out there watching on LCK1 and also on YouTube for these games that just never end. You know, this is the song that never ends. Is a song I remember from my childhood.
On,
my friends.
It's
some people tell me patch 8.2 will make it better.
They'll continue saying that until 8.2 comes out.
And fixes the meta. Look at us, rhyming on air.
Yeah. This is the patch that doesn't end. I hope it comes in next week. But you were telling me earlier that because it came out on Wednesday,
this is my expectation,
that it might not happen until the week after. So
we get another week of rhyming, of joking. You can practice your stand-up routine that I keep alluding to.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah. I'm working on that, you know. Just go home and watch your guys' cast, not even pay attention. I'm just like working on what jokes I can weave into the cast.
Man walks into 8.1, there is no counter, like all other great jokes you can make.
Yeah.
Tal and Khan have been doing nothing in the side lane for a long while. It might as well be Maokai versus Sion. They do a lot of damage, but you wouldn't know it from their health bars.
They just get it all back. Oh, we just saw the Guardian Angel sold by GP.
Yeah!
I think he got Titanic Hydra?
Yep. He wants more deeps. He's ready to pump out some damage.
He's like, who am I kidding? I'm not going to die.
Guardian Angel
People
doesn't
don't
help
die.
you if people don't die.
People don't die in this meta. What am I doing?
We're getting positioning on mid lane. We're talking about Ryze being in a side lane. Ryze's ability to side lane is one of the reasons why he's popular, Valdez. And
Oh,
it's
boy.
forced. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
What does it mean?
Nothing. Well, it does mean something, actually. Effort will have a harder time. You can see that the Baron is going down here. It looks like SKT, they had an inkling, and all that KZ needs to stop the Baron is just an inkling on the side of SKT. And they will say, okay, I'm not going to do it.
Oh, nice burst.
Now that's the burst, but...
That was a barrel crit.
Yeah. Now we just need a barrel crit onto the Camille.
So we say what happened. Effort had to ult. They lose positioning on the Baron. Now it's King Zone. They can keep trying it and look for a mistake from SKT. So it was actually consequential getting the ult out of Effort. It will be up very soon. They can be a bit more offensive. But for now, every little bit of damage you see is because of Effort's small mistake.
Very, very true. This is why we were talking about, right? It's so tense. A tiny little mistake. One person gets caught out, 94 minutes. The game ends. You know, you try to kill the Nexus, and you're already past 55 minutes. The death timers are 70 seconds long. You lose the game. One mistake, one team fight, it's over.
That sort of punishment has led to this extended meta, but SKT, after seeing the recalls, they're going straight for Baron. It's tanky, still around 10,000 health. The teleports are being drawn. Ezreal's not there.
They're gonna have to back off. Oh, the TP was canceled. And the Baron is still low. They're gonna try to get in here. The GP ultimate is gonna land onto this Braum. He's gonna try to knock up Bang, but it's not gonna work out. Gorilla, though, is going to stand beside Prey and get back to his team. And it turns out that no one is going to go down here. Peanut, though, he's looking for a pick. We were talking about what is the usefulness of the Kazakhs.
No. He's not picking. He's trying to delay.
Oh, true.
He just wants to use his W to get vision and delay. They won't be able to stop 2 recalls. They stop 1. Bang cannot recall. Faker does. No, Faker cancels it. We're watching in the minimap here. So much action around the top side. No one's died.
Oh, man.
Gangplank does leave. Teleports are being used everywhere.
This game is unbelievably tense. Unbelievably. You're exactly right. He's trying to stop the backs because they want to go push mid. But then they're like, oh, maybe we can take a fight. Maybe we can go over there and fight them. It looks like someone backed. But then a TP comes out from Tal, and then they go for it, and they just back off of the fight. Now they're going for the Elder Drake here.
They have complete positioning on it, down to 5,000. They're going to try and rush it. They should get it.
Yep, that they should, unless Blank can get the Miracle Steal. He's too far away. Now they have the Elder. They want to force a fight here with the Elder Drake. Kondo is going to miss that hook shot, and SKT wants no part of it, but look at Blank's health. He's getting poked down from the Ezreal. Here comes Peanut trying to pick him off, but it's not going to happen. But they got a lot of health away. Maybe they can go for Baron.
Now, Blank has Warmogs, but because of the burn, it took a little bit longer to arm. He'll be full health in about 12 seconds. They start onto the Baron. They have a quick Baron here. Blank's near enough to full health. SKT's contest might be too late. It's down to 3,000.
Looks like it might be late. The ultimate's going to come in, and it's blocked. The Braum ultimate stops Blank from getting in, and now he's going to go down. That's going to be the Baron and the Elder. Here comes the Realm Warp. They want to get into that back line. Here comes the Kazakhs up to Bang, and he is going to go down. They finally get that cockball in the back line. Faker now trying to go 1v2. He's not going to be able to do a double kill, and finally Peanut is getting the kills that he's wanted all game long. A triple kill going to the Kazakhs, and Baron and Elder Drake on the side of King Zone.
This game explodes into life. The death timers are so long. King Zone will feel like they can win the game here unless Tal can delay them insanely. The minion wave is starting to come up. The second one is not far behind it. Can Tal stall? I think SKT have lost.
It's all about the barrels. He's going to have to get perfect ones, but it's 1 versus 4. They can cancel them. And even if he does kill the minions, is it going to matter? It doesn't look like it. There's only Tal alone here. That's going to be the first Nexus turret. They're going to go for the second one here. In come the Baron buff minions, and they're even going to get Tal out of this fight. They want the extra kill. Camille's going to pick it up. Khan gets another kill, and KZ gets the kill in game 1.
The power of the veterans, the power of the shock cause, turning onto the Elder after the Baron had been just stalled out for 20+ minutes. They take the Elder, they're proactive around the Baron after chunking out Blank. They trusted their smites. King Zone flip the script. They should have been able to run this from the early game. They didn't, but because of the ability in patch 8.1 to open up, to delay a game, they got to the point where one decisive call was enough. They turned that into 2, into 3, into the game ending, and congratulations, Kingzone. You may not have deserved it for your first 30 minutes, but for your last 10, very well played.
Fantastic late game decision making. The likes that SKT did not show in that game. You can see the frustration, the tension has finally been broken. Faker looks like a statue. He's not even moving. Finally, his eyes moved at the end there. I was getting scared.
I got a feel in situations like this, having an experienced top laner, having Wolf at support, means they would have more voices the team is used to following. Whether the shot calling is good for a 17-year-old or not, having an experienced player of 500 games or more is another important voice. SKT don't have a lot of voices, and in a meta like this, where one mistake, click your fingers, the game is over, they need those voices, because otherwise you're going to see more sad faces from SKT.
Blank, he did so well early on, trying to get Faker into a better position in his lane. His Sejuani was great for the follow-up, but then later game, he just wasn't really able. You know, it's definitely a team effort thing, but he was always the guy in the front being chunked down by the Ryze and the Ezreal and just trying to get the steals, but he couldn't. Just a second late to both the Baron and the Elder Drake. And in the end, as you said, it was one mistake, and that's one game going over to Kingzone. Guys, if you're joining us late, that was the end of game 1, and it has been an hour. So stick tight. We're not going anywhere. Let's take a look at some game facts first.
The gold lead was very small for the majority, but anytime it is less than 2,000 with a scaling comp like SKT in a traditional meta, big advantage SKT. We are far from a traditional meta. Ability for Prey to clean up those fights on the back end was very nice. His Ezreal certainly, first game of the season, looked strong, but it was all about that shot call. You can see smack bang on 50 minutes is when Kingzone made their first proactive move of the 50 minutes. They had been dictated to by the scaling comp. Already a slap in the face for Kingzone saying, hey, you screwed up the first 30 minutes pretty significantly. SKT couldn't push their advantage. Very difficult to do so in this meta with so many snowball defensive tools. That one smart move around the Elder Dragon, one chunk onto Alistar that at first look wasn't significant, got them advanced vision, allowed them to translate into an Elder, a Baron, and a one-team fight. Everyone looks a bit lost as, okay, I see a new member there. They're going to give Cuz another run.
It was making sense to me. I wanted to say it in the beginning of game 1, you know, after that, but looks like we will have it here for game 2, and we will be back after a quick commercial break.